Welcome back to the Eternal Wrestling Podcast, where legends never die and rivalries live forever. Today on the podcast, we have a doubleheader for you covering AEW Collision from last Saturday and AEW Dynamite from this Wednesday night. As always, I'm your host, Jacob, and buckle up as I take you through this double recap of lots of wrestling action. So, let's get into it. On AEW Collision from Saturday night's January 4th, our opening contest was Hangman Adam Page against Shibata. Page and Shibata were battling on the apron until Hangman hit Shibata with a dead eye, and as Shibata stumbled to his feet, Page came off the top rope with a moonsault, which then Page decided to throw Shibata back in the ring, and he was lining up his buttshot lariat, but Shibata had his eyes scouted on Hangman. He reversed Hangman's momentum into a leg trip, where he transitioned into a headlock vice. Hangman was able to break the hold by eventually getting to the ropes. Then Shibata lined up Hangman for a basement dropkick in the corner, but Hangman Page was able to pull himself to top turnbuckle to avoid this maneuver. He then flipped off for a modified buckshot, but Shibata still had him sighted and was able to duck. So Hangman came back with another lariat to put him down, and then he quickly got into position on the ring apron, and the crowd was getting fired up because they want Hangman to hit his buckshot lariat here. And as Shibata stumbled up to his feet, boom! Hangman hits this buckshot lariat. 1, 2, 3. Hangman gets the dub here. We then see a segment that was recorded from earlier on in the week, last week now, at the time of my recording, where the Don Callis family and Ricochet were out on a golf course playing golf and joking back and forth about how the tag team titles are going to come off of the tag champs FTR, and maybe even the Gates of Agony would take the titles from the Don Callis family. After this segment, we had a AEW Women's World Championship Eliminator match where champ Chris Statlander fought Isla Dawn. Isla Dawn, she ran down the apron to kick Chris right in the chest. Back to the ring, Dawn suplexed Statlander, went for a quick pinfall, 1, 2, kick out. Can't keep the champ down. Isla Dawn and Statlander, they were trading strikes back and forth, kicks, until Isla was able to hit a Saito suplex out of nowhere, went for another pinfall, 1, 2. Still can't keep the champ down. The two then battled on the top turnbuckle, where Statlander was knocking Isla Dawn down to the mat, but Isla Dawn got back to her feet, only to get knocked back down once more with a big missile dropkick from Statlander. She then grabbed Dawn for a fisherman suplex. Buster was able to hit that maneuver, went for a pinfall on Isla Dawn, but couldn't keep Isla Dawn down here. Statlander wasted no time, and she decided to go for the Saturday Night Fever, which was her finisher, and she kept Isla Dawn down for the 3 count here. After her victory, Tekla, in a backstage segment, appeared on the Titantron. She had a Chris Statlander shirt, and she said it's a shame that tonight was Statlander's last one as champion. She took off the shirt, spat on it, and then threw it in a trash can. She says, "So long, Stat Daddy. Live long and prosper." And then throws up the Klingon V hand gesture, as Chris Statlander did formerly kind of have like an alien gimmick going on in her earlier time in AEW. And this just pissed off Chris Statlander as she watched from the ring. We then get a backstage segment where Jack Perry says he's coming for Ricochet and the national championship. And he mentions how Ricochet beat down Luchasaurus, and he took away opportunities not from him, but his friend Luchasaurus, as they were just coming back as a tag team. And he's not only going to take the national championship from Ricochet, but take everything from him. We then have a tag team match where the Don Callis families, Kyle Fletcher and Konosuke Takeshita, calling themselves Protoshita here, are against father and son duo Billy and Austin Gunn. So during this match, Billy pulled Fletcher from the ring and threw him into the guardrail, while Austin got a near fall on Takeshita. But Takeshita nailed Austin with a Blue Thunder bomb, went for a pinfall attempt here, but Billy was able to break this up. After this, Fletcher and Takeshita both double-teamed Billy with multiple strikes and eventually sent him to the floor. Takeshita then lines up Austin for a power drive knee, but Austin was able to duck this here. But Fletcher was there to hit a flying boot to Austin in the corner. He then sends him back towards Takeshita, who hits the Raging Fire, goes for a pinfall. 1, 2, 3. and Proto Cheetah come away victorious here. Don Callis gets in the ring to raise both hands of his faction members, but they get a surprise when AEW International Champion Okada appears on the stage. And Okada and Takeshita, they've had this rivalry brewing between each other, even though they're in the same faction for months now. People were having to hold back Takeshita, and Okada just smirked from the stage. I'm really hoping that this rivalry gets further played out and Takeshita just beats the hell out of Okada, since Okada's constantly poking him. And there's a saying, don't mess with the bull or you're going to get the horns. After this match, we had a backstage segment where Ricochet responds to Jack Perry. And he mentions that he wants to give Jack all the luck he can get. So in 2 weeks, he will face him in Las Vegas. And Jack Perry is just going to be amongst a sea of losers who come to Sin City. We then get another backstage segment / interview where the grizzled young vets are saying they want more of Eddie Kingston and Ortiz. And if they want to use weapons, well, you know what? We will too. It doesn't take long, and Eddie Kingston appears backstage, and he's pretty much showing them no signs of him backing down from this challenge, and he's willing to fight. We get a tag team match where Mark Davis and Jake Doyle of the Don Callis family take on Jordan Oliver and Alec Price. So Oliver and Price, they're showing great acrobatics, lots of athleticism in this matchup, but despite their quickness and athleticism, they are no match for Davis and Doyle. Both big men, both powerful, and they show that they're powerful by pinning both of their opponents at the same time to pick up the victory. After this match, out comes Don Callis once more. He says he has a vision, and his vision is that Davis and Doyle will retire FTR and take away their tag team titles. FTR isn't gonna sit back in the back and listen to this, so they come out and they say, that they're not going to lose the titles, they're going to put up a fight, and that after the final bell rings, they will remain champions. We get a little segment where Darby Allin, he's meeting up with Jackass star Bam Margera, and they're at a skate park skating, doing tricks, and Darby is showing Bam some of his crazy stunts and matchups in AEW, and Bam is just laughing it off, and he just can't believe what he sees. We then move on to a tag team match not a tag team match, but a TBS championship match where Willow Nightingale goes against Julia Hart of the Triangle of Madness. So Willow is able to throw Hart into the ring, and she connects with a cannonball in the corner. Goes for a pinfall. 1, 2, kick out. Julia then comes back, and she locks Nightingale into a tarantula over the ropes until the ref forces her to break before the 5 count. Hart hits a spinning DDT, goes for another pinfall, only gets the 2 count here, and she then locks Willow into a octopus submission hold. But Willow shows her power, and she gets out of it by ramming Hart into the turnbuckles. But Julia's putting up a fight here. She wants this title back, and she puts down Willow with a pair of boots to the chin. Julia climbs to the top rope for a moonsault, but it doesn't connect, and she ends up eating Willow's boots on the way down. Willow goes for a power bomb, but Julia is able to reverse it into a Hurricane Rana. Goes for a pinfall. 1, 2. Big kick out here by Willow. Willow grabs Julia again, and this time she's able to connect with the power bomb and retains her championship. We get a backstage segment where the Rascals say they are ready for the Crew, and this segment was really played out on the stoner vibes from the Rascals. There's smoke, there's snacks everywhere, and they were playing rock, paper, scissors with each other to decide who would face their opponents. Another little backstage segment where Alec Windsor and Jamie Hayter decide that they're going to form a tag team, and even mention that they need to get some matching outfits. We then get a one-on-one match between Andrade El Idolo against the CMLL Tag Team Champion Magnus. During this match, Andrade takes his shirt off, and he parades around ringside taking a selfie with a fan, and appears to put his number into her phone. And as Andrade takes off his shirt and pants, the crowd seems to go wild for him here. Andrade gets the win in this match, and during the course of this match, he's being very, very cocky with his taunts and going for pinfall attempts, but not ending the match sooner than what he could have. Afterwards, there's a little backstage segment where Andrade decides that he's going to call out Swerve Strickland for a match on Dynamite on Wednesday. So after this, it is main event time where the CMLL champion, Claudio, will defend this title against Roderick Strong. So Claudio, he's trying for the neutralizer here, but Strong turns into a sunset flip for a near pinfall. Gets a 2 count. Claudio pops up Strong into a big uppercut, which is his signature move, but the pinfall is not successful, and Roddy is able to get his foot on the ropes. Claudio tries to hit a superplex on Roderick, but is not successful as he gets crushed on the top rope by Roddy. Roddy then is able to hit a avalanche fireman's carry slam, goes for a pinfall attempt here on Claudio, but a kick out at 2. Cannot keep the big Swiss Superman, as he's been called, down. Roddy went for a submission, and he's fighting through the pain here. During the course of this match, Jon Moxley looks concerned on commentary for his faction mate Claudio, and Claudio starts targeting Roderick's leg. He eventually slams it into a steel post of the ring twice. And then on the final attempt, Strong is pulled into the ring post. He pulls Claudio into the ring post. And while the ref is checking on Claudio, Yuta slams Roddy Strong's leg into the post, trying to even up the match here for his stablemate. He raises his hands up to celebrate, and Wheeler Yuta gets punched right in the mouth with a big orange punch from Orange Cassidy, as he has been in Roddy's corner during this match. Claudio gets up and he just floors Cassidy here, and he returns to the ring where he charges at Roddy in the corner, but eats a big boot. Roddy goes on to hit a jumping knee strike, and he puts Claudio back on the floor. And Roddy, he pulls down his knee pad, and he's looking to end this match here and get this championship. But as he goes to hit his knee strike, Claudio is able to move, and the referee ends up moving out of the way, and Claudio kicks Strong in the head. He then picks up Roddy, swings him around by the bad knee, and he finishes him with a neutralizer. Goes for the pin, gets a 3 count, and he retains the CMLL World Championship, as CMLL and AEW have a working relationship, and sometimes titles are defended on either show. So this episode of Collision, it was thrown together because of the massive snowstorms and ice storms that are coming through the US. Overall, I thought this episode was decent. We had some good matches, of course, but it didn't feel like there was a main standout match for me. The episode is entertained, and Tony Khan, being the booker and owner of AEW, he did what he had to do to make sure the show went on. And I mean, he accomplished that here. But like I said, there's no real standout matches to me, but there was also no terrible segments from what I can recall. We then move on to AEW Dynamite that aired on January 28th. Our opening contest is Kenny Omega versus Rocky Romero. Kenny Omega comes out with pyro, fireworks, and the crowd is going wild. Right as the bell rings, Rocky Romero tries to get the jump on Omega here, but that doesn't end too well, and Rocky's offense is soon squashed. This match was fun, but felt like a level just slightly above a squash match. Kenny Omega, he hits the V-trigger, and then hits his finishing move, the One-Winged Angel, for the victory to end the opening contest here. After the match, Tony Schiavone interviews Kenny, as he is one of 4 men tied to face MJF for the World Championship. Kenny goes on to say, "I haven't felt this good in years, and I will become the next World Heavyweight Champion." Kenny looked great during this match, and it showcased a lot of his offense and physicality, and maybe this match was just to make him look good, and it did that. Also, he's in great shape. So after he says that, comes Hangman Adam Page. He says, "Kenny, you look good. I'd rather fight beside you than against you, but with the world title at stake, I'm willing to do just that." And he tells Kenny that, "I'm sorry, but I will be the next world champion." Then out comes Swerve Strickland, and he enters the ring, goes on to say that, "Ever since I came back, I've not been pinned, and I am undefeated. I have the same amount of right to the world title as you two, and my mission is the same. I'm going to come back and get the world championship. I don't care who I have to go through to get what I want. It can be against anybody, and I do mean anybody." As he says this, he gets closer to Kenny Omega, and he's staring Kenny down. Kenny responds with, "I feel there's some animosity here, and as much as you want that belt, it feels like you want a fight." Then out comes Don Callis, sticking his nose in this business, and he points to Swerve first, and he says, "Swerve, you may be undefeated, but you don't have much longer until Andrade beats you tonight in the main event." He addresses Kenny saying, "Daddy is here to tell you that when Andrade beats Swerve, he's coming to beat you next." Then Don Callis is chased to the back. As Kenny Omega is tired of Don Callis' yapping, I just want to see Kenny get his hands on Don and just beat him down. Don has caused him so much headache over the years since Kenny was aligned with Don in the past. I felt that this was a nice little start here to the show, showcasing every challenger for the World Championship, and kind of reminds everybody that they're staking their claim. Also, Swerve really seems to try to intimidate Kenny here, and I would love to see them two fight. That'd be a great match, great main event. Slap that match on a pay-per-view, for sure. We then get a video segment where Harley Cameron, Willow Nightingale, and Chris Statlander address the Triangle of Madness. They say to Tekla, "You're the one who's going to get toxic shock syndrome. If the Sisters of Sin stay out of the World Championship match tonight, we will put our tag team titles on the line." So we have an AEW Continental Championship Eliminator match as our next contest, and champion Jon Moxley is versing Ace Austin. Ace Austin, he's very athletic here. And honestly, he's been on top of Moxley, really applying his offense to Moxley over a very good portion of this match. And then just out of nowhere, Jon Moxley hits a cutter and then hits his finishing move, the Death Rider, to get the pinfall victory. Just to remind everyone that, you got to be on your toes when you're fighting Moxley. And I felt like Mox was really giving in this match, and he let Ace Austin really show a lot of potential. But winning was just not to be for Ace Austin here. And I thought this match was really entertaining. Ace Austin, like I mentioned, he's very athletic, agile. I've seen some of his TNA matches. He just always seems to really perform and shine, no matter what match type he is in. After this match, Don Callis family member, Konosuke Takeshita, he marches down to the ring, and he's staring down Jon Moxley, and you can't really hear what they're saying, but he motions that he's coming for his championship. And then Jon Moxley is attacked and laid out in the middle of the ring by Davison Doyle. We then have our TNT Championship match where El Clone versus Mark Briscoe. So Mark Briscoe, he folds up Clone to get the pinfall win here, and I felt like what happens next almost overshadowed the match him and Clone had. Because Mark says that he likes the open challenge concept, but no one from the Don Callis family is allowed to challenge because I'm tired of y'all, he says, because he's a Southern fella. And the arena goes dark. And on the Titantron, there's an image of a rib cage and a heart turning black. Tommaso Ciampa makes his AEW debut. Pyro is just shooting up from the entrance ramp, and the crowd is just going nuts. They're going crazy. Wild. They're going wild. Ciampa, he enters the ring and he tells Mark that he will see him on Saturday. Oh, and that small gesture there kind of set me back a little bit. Almost made me think of like Judas in a way. But this isn't really a story of betrayal. Also, Psycho Killer popped up on Tommaso Ciampa's Titantron. He did not have that Psycho Killer theme song. I just felt like that wouldn't have really fit his character for AEW, but it would have been kind of funny. I am surprised that Ciampa left WWE and then he came to AEW fairly quickly. And honestly, with his run on SmackDown, you could easily tell why he wouldn't want to stay there. He was just kind of floundering. There was no real good storylines for him as he was tagging with Johnny Gargano, and he was just kind of getting lost in the shuffle. I did really like Ciampa in NXT and NXT 2.0, and he put on some great matches. And ever since he was moved to the main roster, like kind of going back to SmackDown and stuff, I feel that the WWE creative didn't really have anything super impactful for him to do. And, if you don't really have anything for certain people to work on, they're going to sit back in catering, and you're just kind of wasting everybody's time. And I'm really excited to see what AEW does with him. And if he does go on to win the TNT Championship, if he wins the TNT title, I'm all for it. Heck yeah. Give this man something. He's been plowing away, and in a recent interview after his AEW debut, he kind of compared AEW like ECW in the 90s, and that he has kept an eye on AEW, and the presentation and things like that is what eventually led to him coming in and joining the company. It is Saturday, and I have not watched AEW Collision, which airs at 7 p.m. my time. I am definitely going to cover it. More news as this story develops with Tommaso Ciampa and this match going forward. But let's continue on. We did a backstage segment where Kyle Fletcher, he's getting interviewed, and he's with Okada. And Okada says that I took that screwdriver from that match against Takeshita because I wanted to win, but I wanted to face you in the finals, and I didn't mean to hurt you. He goes on to say that he's sorry, and he apologizes to Kyle Fletcher. And Kyle says that it takes a big man to come out here and admit his faults, and he accepts his apology. And the two men shake hands. So this seems to be smoothed over for the moment. Because maybe Okada's not trying to get too many faction members, as he's in the Don Callis family, against him. Because once your friends become your enemies, then they're going to know your weaknesses. And that is not good for business, I'll tell you. Not good at all. Next up, out comes our AEW World Champion, MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, and he enters the ring. But before he can really start yapping, as he usually does, Brody King storms to the ring. Big bad Brody King here. And then MJF starts in a yapping. And he mocks him, calling Brody a lost puppy who followed around Buddy Matthews and Malachi Black. And he even says, I've never met somebody who's so liberal but looks like a Nazi. I don't know if he's trying to say that Brody King looks like a neo-Nazi here or something like that, which makes zero sense. Brody's just a big tattooed man. I felt like this was like a little whoa with this comment. He then says that to Brody, you're just becoming a world champion is just a dream for you. You need to be a leader like me, but you're nothing more than a follower. He even goes on this for Brody an opportunity to be his backup man in a way. Really futile here. As Brody says, I don't need to follow anyone, and you've obviously never had any true friends. He says that since he needs to beat main event level talent, or elite level talent, he went and talked to Tony Khan, and what better way to beat elite level talent than to fight the world heavyweight champion. And next week, he's going to get a world title eliminator match. And if he wins, he will face MJF for the World Championship in Australia. Grand Slam, Australia. And I really hope Brody beats the hell out of him. MJF, I like him. He's good in the ring. He's good on the mic. And I just want to see Brody get a World Championship title match. I've liked Brody since he debuted with the House of Black. And they had that creepy, culty gimmick. With the black candles and just the whole mystique they had going on. But after this, we have the AEW Women's World Championship match, where Tekla is taking on Chris Statlander. And during the match, Tekla escapes the apron, and she hits a boot to the side of Statlander's face. Tekla then climbs to the top rope, so Chris Statlander, she's charging at her, and Tekla was able to land on the mat. She was then floor Tekla, big clothesline. She decides to climb up to the top rope here, and Tekla wasn't going to let her get offense because she met her with a rising strike. Tekla, as she meets Chris Statlander here on the top, hits a spider suplex and follows up with a cross body to the outside. The two women then get back into the ring. She goes for a pinfall here on the champ, but only gets a 2 count. Then after a quick reversal, Tekla nearly was able to cut Chris Statlander in half with a spear, but due to fatigue and fighting through the match, she just can't get over to her in time to cover her for a pinfall. Eventually, the two women, they fight their way back to their feet, and Chris Statlander, she's asking for more, come, what do you got? Tekla, in Tekla fashion, spits in her face, as we've seen previously that she's spitting on her merchandise as well. Tekla goes on to trap Chris Statlander in armbreaker, and she followed with a big stomp to the back of the head. Chris Statlander kicks out just in the nick of time. Tekla goes to set up another spear here. But Chris, she had this scouted. And Chris had this scouted and was ready with a big kick to stop her. She tries to go for the Saturday Night Fever here. Wednesday Night Fever. But Tekla rolled through with a 2 count. Depending on if it's Saturday or Wednesday night, the name of her finisher may swap from Saturday Night Fever to Wednesday Night Fever. It's just her thing. So after Tekla rolls through, but only gets a 2 count, Chris Statlander, she misses a lariat, which ends up sending herself into the corner. So Tekla charges for another spear attempt, which allows Chris to turn it into a swinging power bomb. She pulls Tekla back up, and this time she successfully hits that Wednesday Night Fever to get the pinfall victory and retain her championship. After this match, Penelope Ford and Megan Bayne are on the ramp and they're staring down not only Chris, but her friends Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron, the tag team champions. This pretty much is going to signify that there could be a tag team title match in the future for them. Or they're going to fight their way to the tag team titles. And I really like Megan Bayne. She looks fantastic. She's a tall, very powerful woman in the ring. And she kind of has that, I almost want to compare it to like a Wonder Woman type of presence. And with her Titantron, and she wears like a winged headdress. So I've been a fan of her since she came to AEW. And I feel like this could really be her year to capture a championship. We had a backstage segment, and Don Callis is saying that the Don Callis family needs to be bringing home more gold. He addresses Kyle Fletcher and saying, how about you focus on the TNT championship because that used to be yours, and that Takeshi, could focus on going after Jon Moxley and such. After this, Don Callis, as he walks away, Takeshi's like, you forgave Okada? And Kyle feels bad about this. He feels like he kind of betrayed his friend, as Okada and Takeshita have been bumping heads. And I'm just so ready to see them fight. I know I said that earlier, but I just want Takeshita to give Okada that uppercut and whoop him down. Whoop him. We then see a backstage assault where the Demand with Ricochet are taking down Jack Perry. This said it happened earlier on in the day, and eventually Jack Perry is smashed through a backstage table, and things are just not looking good for him. We then move on to our tag team title match, where FTR is going against Don Callis family members Davis and Doyle. Eventually, Harwood, he fought his way back into the match, and he's standing tall in a strike battle, although it doesn't last long because Davis is able to put him down and stop the momentum. Wheeler tried to show his power by countering Doyle into a power slam, but Doyle got right back up, and he just runs through Wheeler here with a big body block. Then he's stacking up FTR in the corner. Davis and Doyle, they take turn, hit splashes to their opponents in the corner. And then eventually, Davis and Harwood, they're fighting on the top turnbuckle here. And this gives Wheeler, he's giving Harwood just enough time to turn things around, and he nails Davis with a big avalanche belly-to-back suplex. As Wheeler comes off the other corner, big splash. FTR goes to cover Davis, but Davis is able to kick out. And during this match, FTR's manager, Stokely, or Big Stoke as he is called, he's on commentary. Of course, he's going to praise his guys in FTR. Eventually, Davis kicks Wheeler out of the ring, and he gets Harwood into a sleeper. But Harwood, he's not going down. He's been in many tag team battles, and he is not going out without a fight. And eventually, Davis, he was distracted as the Death Riders appeared ringside. Harwood was able to slip out of this sleeper hold, and he sends Davis to the outside. Jon Moxley's there with his championship, and he cracks Davis right in the head with it to get back at them for, that snake attack earlier on in the show. And this is all happening because the referee, he's dealing with FTR in the ring. After this happens, Davis, of course, he's going to be not sure what the heck's going on. He's got smashed in the head. He walks right into a shatter machine. FTR go for the pinfall. 1, 2, 3. And FTR retain their tag team championships. We had a backstage interview where Orange Cassidy, he encounters Wheeler Yuta and Marina Shafir. Marina Shafir goes to yank on Orange Cassidy's hair, and Tony Storm comes in and is like, get your hands off the juice, boy. And this possibly could be setting up a mixed tag team match in the future, where Tony will storm with Orange Cassidy, as they have been shown to be friends, like some weird kind of like relationship thing going on with their characters. And Tony Storm is always coming up with great lines, and she's hilarious with her, like 1920s Scarlet character. And there's no denying why she has been world champion so many times in the women's division. But now it is main event time, as Swerve Strickland is taking on Andrade El Idolo. So Andrade, he sends Swerve into the steel steps, and he's posing for the crowd, being cocky. And he's taking a woman's phone for a selfie, and she gives him like a tissue with a kiss on it, and like the lipstick, and maybe it's a phone number, we don't know. Andrade here lately, he is shown to be a ladies' man, and he's not afraid to prolong a match just to show off to the crowd. After this, Andrade, he finally turns his attention back to his opponent, and he's trying to stay on the offensive. And then they fight near the apron, and Andrade, he stops Swerve from a springboard. Andrade, he runs up the ropes, and he twists to the outside and lands on top of Swerve. Then, Andrade, he misses a moonsault from the top rope, but he lands on his feet, and he nails Swerve on the second attempt. And he goes for a pinfall here. 1, 2, kick out. After this, Andrade, he knocks Swerve to the outside. He scales the rope for another moonsault, but Swerve meets him on the apron and hits a very crazy-looking Death Valley driver. Swerve, he brings Andrade onto the guardrail, and he's going to try to hit a pile driver here, like he did on Kevin Knight the previous week. But Andrade's not letting this happen, and he backdrop Swerve off the guardrail to the floor. And it looked like Andrade almost racked himself here. Both men are, laying next to the ring after this little scenario, and they almost get counted out, but just in time. Squeaking just by in the ring. Andrade, he's striking with Swerve, and he seems to be getting the better of this, fist fight here. He tries to go for his finishing move, the DM, but Swerve, he gets out of this with an elbow, and he runs right into Andrade's boot, and he gets an elbow shot of his own to him. He goes for a pinfall on Swerve once more. 1, 2, kick out from Swerve. And Swerve, now he's just down in the corner. Andrade, he runs to hit that double knee strike, and Swerve, he hops up and gets a house call out of nowhere. Goes for the pinfall, and Andrade kicks out. So Swerve, he decides he's going to go to the top rope. Maybe he can end it this way. But Andrade, he is on top of Swerve, and he stops him. And he hits an avalanche poison Rana. Then, like before, he goes for the running knee strike to Swerve, and it connects here. He goes for the pinfall on Swerve. Swerve kicks out. Andrade hits a DDT. Another pinfall attempt on Swerve. Swerve kicks out again. This man is he's not going down. You're not putting Swerve down that easily. And during this, the crowd is behind Swerve Strickland. They're trying to will him to get back into this fight, into this match. Maybe Swerve can prevail here. He goes on to reverse Andrade into a jackknife pin attempt. Almost gets the 3 here. Andrade, he reverses into a near pinfall, but Swerve, he bounces up. He connects with another big house call kick. Swerve picks up Andrade for the big pressure, but Andrade, during this, he grabs that referee Aubrey Edwards' arm, distracts her. She kind of turns around because she's like, what the heck's going on? He kicks backwards. Low blow on the Swerve, right in the nards. Andrade hits his finisher, the DM. Unfortunately, Swerve, he was trying everything he could, but this match was not in his favor. He was just not willing to stoop so low as Andrade is. Very entertaining match here. I'd say a great showing from both men. After this, Renee Paquette, she's trying to get an interview with MJF about his upcoming match with Brody King, but Kenny interrupts, and he's saying that he wants to remind MJF that he's coming for him and that he is hoping to see him at Revolution. He goes to, shake MJF's hand. MJF, he's like, nah, blows him off, and then he comes face to face with Andrade. He makes it clear he wants MJF's world championship. MJF, he's trying to, get out of the arena. He's just tired of it. But as he gets out to the car, he's stopped by Hangman Adam Page. He just quickly gets in the car, and the driver speeds away here. And Dynamite felt very important this week. It felt like things were definitely clicking and firing on all cylinders. Not just because of the matches, but because every, major player within the championship scenes, they're making their presence felt. They're making their presence known. And this show is definitely a story of ambition, and sometimes pride goes before a fall. I enjoy this match. Pretty much every single match, whether it was tied to main storylines or not, felt impactful. And I'm really excited to see where Tommaso Ciampa goes from here, where Andrade goes from here. Heck, that was a huge win over Swerve. And, Kenny Omega looking like he's returning to form, his athleticism and his technique. They're not skipping a beat. I'm just excited to see where things progress. Well, everyone, that's going to do it for this episode of the Eternal Wrestling Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you follow, you comment. Let me know your thoughts on AEW's current status, what you think is working, and what maybe didn't. As always, everybody, I'm Jacob, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode.